Imagine a world that the public has never fully seen, a world hidden beneath layers of royal glamour, where the glitter of the crown masks the shadowy depths of betrayal, heartbreak, and manipulation. A world where love is weaponized, loyalty is nothing more than a mask, and trust is fragile. This is the untold and shocking story of Princess Diana, a woman who fought not only against the crushing weight of an affair, but also against a much darker, more sinister force within the royal family. Her marriage to Prince Charles, far from being the fairytale romance the public believed it to be, was a battlefield of secrets, power plays, and heart-wrenching betrayal. But what if everything we thought we knew about this tragedy was merely the tip of the iceberg? What if Diana's suffering wasn't simply the consequence of a cheating husband, but the result of a much deeper betrayal, a betrayal that threatened not only her personal happiness, but the very stability of the monarchy? This is the dramatic, heart-rending tale of Diana's silent war, not just against Charles and Camilla, but against an entire institution, a world that would stop at nothing to keep its secrets hidden. From the moment Diana became part of the royal family, she was thrust into a world of unseen battles, a world where nothing was as it seemed. While the public admired her grace, elegance, and fairy-tale image, Diana saw something much darker beneath the polished surface. Her marriage to Prince Charles, rather than being the romantic, royal union that the public adored, quickly turned into a suffocating experience of isolation, manipulation, and emotional warfare. Diana wasn't just the victim of a cheating husband. She was a woman who began to uncover the deep, well-kept secrets of the royal family, secrets that they would do anything to keep hidden from the world. She didn't just find out about Charles's affair with Camilla. She discovered the true depth of the relationship, a bond that was far stronger and far more damaging than anyone had ever realized. Diana's awareness of this affair, which she could no longer ignore, was not simply heartbreaking, it was earth-shattering. She realized that her marriage wasn't just falling apart because of infidelity, but because she was locked in a battle she had no power to win. We all know about the affair between Prince Charles and Camilla Parker Bowles, but what if this affair was much more than the media ever let on? What if this wasn't just about a man and a woman in love, but about something far more dangerous, a battle for control, loyalty, and the very future of the British monarchy itself? For Diana, the affair was never just about being cheated on. It was about realizing the truth of her position in the royal family and the deep, emotional bond that Charles and Camilla shared. This was more than just a temporary affair. It was an enduring connection, one that Diana knew would never end, no matter how much she wanted it to. She could feel the invisible thread that tied Charles to Camilla, pulling him further away from her and from the royal duties he was supposed to uphold. What began as a betrayal grew into a full-blown emotional war, as Diana realized that not only had she lost her husband, but that the very institution she had married into, an institution that was supposed to protect her, was now supporting the affair in secret. Diana was fighting not just for her marriage, but for her identity, her dignity, and her future in a world that had no place for her. What made Camilla Parker Bowles so dangerous wasn't simply her affair with Charles. It was the quiet, powerful way she integrated herself into every aspect of Charles's life. Diana saw it all, the subtle glances, the hidden meetings, the shared moments of laughter that she knew were meant only for Camilla. But what really shook Diana to her core was the realization that Camilla wasn't just a lover to Charles. She was a force, an unshakable presence in his life, and one that Diana couldn't ever seem to overcome. Camilla's power wasn't just emotional, it was psychological and strategic. She understood Charles in ways that Diana never could, having known him long before Diana had entered the picture. She had maneuvered herself so expertly into his life that Diana realized there was no room for her. As the affair deepened, Diana began to understand that Camilla wasn't just fighting for Charles's affection, she was fighting for something far more significant, her own place in history. Diana wasn't just losing her husband, she was losing a battle she had no hope of winning. She was losing to a woman who was already strategically positioned to take her place, not only in Charles's heart, but also in the royal family. As Diana's marriage crumbled before her eyes, she began to see the royal family's role in her suffering with chilling clarity. The Queen, whom she had once admired as the epitome of strength and dignity, remained eerily silent, as did much of the royal household. Diana realized, too late, that the royal family had no intention of protecting her from the affair, or from the deeper, more damaging truths that were beginning to emerge. Diana, who had once thought of the monarchy as a symbol of duty and honor, was now forced to face the brutal reality: the very institution that she had joined had failed her. The Queen's silence on the matter, her unwillingness to intervene, only deepened Diana's despair. Diana wasn't just fighting her husband and his lover, she was fighting an entire institution that had chosen to turn a blind eye to her suffering. The royal family's indifference left Diana feeling more isolated than ever, as if she was being silently pushed out of a world she had never truly belonged to. As the affair continued, Diana began to realize the crushing truth: Charles and Camilla's future together was already set in stone. Charles, who had once promised to love her above all else, had already made up his mind. Once the divorce was finalized, he would marry Camilla, and they would step into the roles that Diana had once dreamed of. The heartbreak Diana felt wasn't just about losing her husband, it was about realizing that her place in the royal family, and the public's perception of her, was already being erased. Charles's behavior made it clear that he had no intention of stopping the affair, no matter how much pain it caused. What began as a betrayal of trust became an act of emotional and psychological warfare. Diana's marriage, already hanging by a thread, was a casualty of a much larger battle for control within the royal family, one that Diana had no power to stop. As the affair progressed, Diana began to see that Camilla's ambitions were far greater than anyone had realized. She wasn't just a woman in love with a prince, she was a woman who was strategically positioning herself to be the future Queen Consort of England. Diana, who had once believed in the ideals of duty and honor, now saw those ideals twisted and used against her. Camilla's growing influence over Charles, her increasing presence at royal events, and her unrelenting ambition made it clear to Diana that this wasn't just a fling. Camilla was aiming for power, and she was determined to claim it no matter the cost. Diana's heartbreak wasn't just about the affair, it was about the fact that Camilla was no longer just an outsider to the royal family. She had become an essential part of Charles's life, and as such, an inescapable presence within the family. For Diana, the realization was too painful to bear. Camilla wasn't just the other woman, she was the future queen. As Diana's battle against Charles and the royal family reached its painful conclusion, she realized that she had been part of a story that was written long before she had even stepped onto the royal stage. The royal family's loyalty to Camilla, their silence in the face of her suffering, and the realization that her marriage had been a mere stepping stone for Charles and Camilla's future were too much for Diana to bear. But even as her personal story seemed to end in defeat, Diana's legacy endured. Her fight for her children, her dignity, and her voice became a symbol of strength for millions of people around the world. The monarchy, for all its splendor and power, had failed her, but Diana had shown the world that even in defeat, there was power in reclaiming one's voice. Her story, tragic and tumultuous, serves as a reminder of the price of loyalty, the cost of love, and the lengths to which an institution will go to protect its own secrets. While the royal family may have erased Diana's role in their story, the world would never forget the woman who stood up against their control and fought for the truth. And perhaps the real question is, who ultimately won in the end?